Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of All Things Aviation and Aerospace. We are on location in Signature Flight Support's hangar right here at Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. Now, what makes this really special is that it is the 9th annual Women in Aviation International Capital Region Chapters Girls in Aviation Day. And real excited to be here. Great to see. I think there's probably around 125 young kids here that are experiencing aviation for the first time. They're seeing a little bit of everything, a little bit of the behind the scenes, a little bit of some aircraft and things like that. So it's really cool. Now, you see there are a couple of young ladies flanking me. Well, that's obviously for Girls in Aviation Day. And so I couldn't think of a better way to do this than to have a couple of guest co-hosts that are girls in aviation. Actually, they're young ladies, but they represent girls in aviation, and they're here to help me out and do everything we can to let you guys know a little bit more about the program. So with me is Ruth-Ann Sutherland. She is an air traffic controller graduate from the Community College of Baltimore County. She's currently working as a trip service specialist at Grandview Aviation. And I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about that and your background in a minute. And then we also have Miss Pilot with or without an engine. Doesn't matter to her. Doesn't have an engine. She's good. Has an engine. Cool. Amelia Mia Anderson. She goes by Mia. And it's great to have you. As I mentioned, she has her private in the glider and airplane rating. And it was pretty recent that you did that, right?
Yes, I got my airplane private pilot's license in June.
Okay. How old are you again?
I'm 18.
Oh, you're 18 now.
Well,
oh,
I turned
wow.
18 after the license.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's why I said it that way, because when I met you, you were 17. Time flies. Anyhow, pun intended. So she's also Amelia Mia is also the founder and CEO of Air Ambition, which is a foundation with the mission of advancing the field of aviation by mentoring, inspiring, and educating future aviators. So here we are, having a good time. Really happy to have you guys here, you ladies here, and really want to start this out by talking a little bit about each of you. And then I'm going to bring Kelly on, who is with Women in Aviation International, to talk about the program overall and its phenomenal growth from 2015 to now. It's global, so it's pretty impressive stuff. Let me start with you, Ruth-Ann. I mean, air traffic control.
I am an air traffic control graduate. I graduated from Community College of Baltimore. That's in Gainesville campus. The schooling for it was a lot. At one point, I thought I was going to drop out because it was a lot, and the lessons, the teachings, it was tedious, but I managed to push through, and here I am.
Persevered.
Very much so. Very much to the end. And
Perseverance is the theme, by the way.
I am happy to know that I am here in this industry, coming from a background of just customer service, and I have an RTC graduate diploma, and I'm in the process of going towards FAA now to be the licensed ATC.
You're ready to go through their school.
Yes.
Hey, guess what? They need controllers.
They do. They're short.
A lot.
So
that shouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. How'd you get into aviation?
So my sister started off as an aircraft mechanic engineer, and she gave me that pathway to say, hey, you don't have to do the typical doctor, nurse, or lawyer. And I was like, that's true. I actually wanted to be something different. So I was like, what are the careers in aviation that a woman can do? The stigmatism was a lot in pilot, but I'm just like, I don't want that much lives on my hand. So let me do something else. Engineering wasn't for me. And I was like, air traffic control. I'm like, okay, sounds interesting. There was a lot of backlash saying that it's going to be very busy, stressful, but I can handle the stress. I'm built for the stress.
Very good. Well, good. Well, we're going to talk some more about that and everything, but I'm going to go here to Mia. Mia, I mean, you're busy.
Yes.
Yeah, taking flying lessons in the glider, taking flying lessons in an airplane, starting a foundation. How old were you when you started a foundation? 15?
I was 17.
I know. I just
Okay.
want to be smart. So, but tell us about your background and your involvement in getting into aviation.
My dad is a captain for Southwest. My mom is a flight attendant for Southwest. I have several other,
It's pretty cool, by the way.
and so I have a lot of family members who have been involved in aviation. And I really was around it growing up. And I always kind of dressed up in my brother's pilot uniforms and never.
Oh, you were one of
Never.
those kids.
I was, yes. So I would steal my brother's pilot uniforms.
Okay.
And I just remember from a young age always loving airplanes and looking up whenever one would pass by. I would imitate my dad, just looking up. And I was 13 when I took my first flight. And from that moment, I knew that flying was it.
Back up.
Yes.
You were 13.
Yes, I
Very
was.
cool. And what aircraft?
It was a Cessna 120.
A Cessna 120. Tell us
Yes.
what kind of plane that is.
It's a tail dragger.
Exactly.
I'm not exactly sure what year it is, but it is a beautiful airplane, and I loved it.
That's a great way to start.
Yes.
You were hooked from that point, huh?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. What are you doing now?
Right now, I just finished my private pilot's license, and I intend on taking tailwheel lessons so that I can get my tailwheel endorsement and just kind of work up to other endorsements and ratings.
Yeah. If you could give us a little bit of history of women in aviation, and then also this fantastic Girls in Aviation program you guys have.
Happy to say it. So actually, I'm Kelly Murphy, Director of Communications for Women in Aviation International, and editor of our magazines, Aviation for Women and Aviation for Girls, which means been on cover. We are thrilled to celebrate in 2023 our 9th annual Women in Aviation International Girls in Aviation Day event. And what's cool about it is when we started 9 years ago, Vince, we were 32 events, 3,000 girls. This year, we have over 165 events in over 30 countries, and we are anticipating 30,000 attendees all around the world.
Wow.
The events officially started on September 23rd, but those events are occurring. Like, for instance, today, we're here at the wonderful DCA signature where we've hosted over 135 girls for a couple of hours to have activities. And really what it's about is you hear the saying, see her, be her. These girls need to come out and see that they can be air traffic controllers or pilots or mechanics or anything. It's supporting the whole system of aviation. So I always say to any young girl I talk to, you can be whatever you have a passion for in aviation and aerospace. And that's because it's full of technology, innovation, and it connects people around the world. So we're thrilled to be here. And every year we continue to say that the Girls in Aviation Day event continues to grow. Actually, during the pandemic, we did not want to cancel our Girls in Aviation Day events, but because of the pandemic, we launched an Aviation for Girls app. And that app is free and available to all. It has hundreds of hours of resources because we know we need to reach the girls where they live and learn. And that is right on your iPhone or your iPad. So we encourage girls to download the Aviation for Girls app. It's free. We also just launched last summer. We now have over 4,500 junior members. And those junior members are ages 8 to 18. You can become a member for free at WAI and learn about our scholarship program, which we have every year, and get involved in Girls in Aviation Day.
Right.
And the mentees and mentors programs as well. I'm a part of the mentee programs as well.
And we also have
phenomenal.
Connect, where we're matching you with another member that helps you along your career path.
It does help. It really does help.
Well,
That's good to hear, Ruth.
Kelly, thanks for that overview.
Thank you. Great to be here.
We're enjoying the
Enjoy.
Tell us a little bit about your perspective about Girls in Aviation. You've been walking around a little bit today and seeing things that are going on. Share that with us.
So my perspective overall for the Girls in Aviation, it's a variety of different people here. Girls from different age groups, basically broadcasting different genres in aviation. You have engineering, you have Coast Guard, you have pilots, you have basically anything that you want to do.
Right.
And it displays the girls from a young age. You can start off at something as signature, being a flag person with the pose, a flagman or a waveman, I believe it's called, and just do something in aviation that gets your bubble going, for lack of a better term. And it informs girls at a young age that, like she said, if you want to be her, you can see her. You can actually strive to what you want to do.
Right.
So I believe Girls in Aviation, leading up to Women in Aviation, creates a vast aspect for females at a young age to know what they want to do and give them opportunities. You don't have to settle for everything that you see, but to settle for something that's behind the scenes individuals.
Awesome. So we just had Miranda. Why am I doing a blank on your last name?
Riley.
Reilly. Miranda Reilly joined us. Miranda's the vice president of the Washington,
Yep.
the Capital Regional Chapter.
Yes, the Capital Region chapter of Women in Aviation.
So tell us about this whole event that you've worked so hard to help put together and
Sure. So, I mean,
your involvement with the show.
yeah. So Girls in Aviation Day is something that Women in Aviation International does every year. You probably heard a little bit about that from Kelly. But for the Capital Region chapter, we do multiple events. So we have this event at DCA, we had an event this past weekend at College Park. We had one at Winchester. So we try to hit all areas of the Capital Region, both in DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Right.
And we really, one of the things that we've been trying to do this year is bring in more companies from different parts of the industry, as well as sponsors, to be able to kind of show that there isn't just airlines, there isn't just you could be a data scientist, you can be an engineer, you can be a pilot, you can be anything in this industry. And so it was really important for us as the Capital Region chapter to show off that, right? So we've got companies like, obviously, like Airbus and the airlines we know about, right? But then we've got Adema that actually does biometrics, which does all of that technology when you go through TCA or TSA at the airport. They're, behind that, right? There's other companies like NASA here, right? There's some of the stuff that you don't typically think of when you think in aviation. We wanted to make sure that we represented here at today.
Yeah, good. So you're very passionate about this.
I am.
and which I love. I think it's really great. What's inspired you to get so involved with a program like this and with an organization like Women in Aviation International?
Sure. So I know when I was little, my parents moved from Texas up to Pennsylvania, and I flew down by myself at a very young age on an airline to go visit my family in Texas. And I remember always being really captured with flight. And when I kind of told my parents that I was interested in becoming, interested in aviation and how much I loved flying, their response was like, "Oh, so you want to be a flight attendant?" And flight attendant is an amazing job in aviation, but I'm not service oriented. That's not my talent. I have other talents, but I wasn't really exposed or encouraged to explore the different career paths in aviation. So whatever your career path is, where it is, flight attendant, where it's more of a service, kind of personality, or maybe you're more of an introvert and you like living in data and you're an engineer, or maybe, you like, kind of putting things together in a 3D model, whatever that is, there's a career path for you here. And it took me way too long to kind of realize that. And I want to make sure that the next generation understands that from a younger age than I did personally.
So last, I wanted to ask you about what you do, because you have a unique responsibility at a unique company. Tell us a little, real quickly about L3 Harris and what you do for them.
Sure. So L3 Harris Technology. So it was Harris and then L3, and they combined. And we have quite the portfolio of different aviation pieces. But I personally work on CPDLC, which is Controller Pilot Data Link Communications. So it's the ability for air traffic control and pilots to communicate via text message, if you will, right? And so the FAA actually hires L3 Harris to deploy and implement that program. So it's basically a new air traffic control technology or a new tool that we're deploying for the FAA. So I work on a team that we work with benefits, metrics, outreach. So we look at are operators using the system? Are they getting out of airports faster using the system? Are they getting through airspace faster using the system? So it's really cool to see those real-time benefits of a technology that we're deploying.
Very good. So we're looking for Kathy Turner because she's the one that brought all of the kids in, and we can talk to her about that. But thank you very much. And this is really great. The kids seem to be enjoying themselves. While we're waiting for Kathy, one other question for you. The kids are all getting something like stamped or whatever. Tell us a little bit about what that's about.
An example in front of me, but it's basically a little passport, if you will. Every table has a stamp, and so they'll get to stamp. Every table will stamp that passport, and it's just to help the girls to really realize all of the different booths are there, and making sure they get exposure to all of them by encouraging them to visit every booth. Yep.
Okay.
And I have one more question, if you don't mind, to fill some time. What are some of the benefits that you've seen with having a local chapter to an international organization?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. So I think really having that local community helps us in so many different ways, right? It helps us connect with wonderful individuals like you, right? And Ruth-Ann, but it also creates kind of a safe place for women that are working in the industry. A lot of times we go into meetings and we're the only, woman in the room.
Yeah.
And to have a place where we can talk with each other and feel connected and the same experiences that we have, to be able to talk that out with other women and realizing they're having those same experiences. So that sense of community, but then also the outreach with events like this, as well as making those connections between, wonderful young women like you with the community. Yeah, that's a great question, man. Yeah.
While we wait for our next guest, there are a couple of things that came to mind to me about your career. So I'll start with you. You have a different approach to this in terms of aviation. It's not your typical, I do this, I become a pilot or whatever. What are your, and your influence is unique too. Your mom's a flight attendant, your dad's a pilot. So what does that mean for you in terms of what direction you want to take in this great industry?
Yes, that's a great question. I will say I'm still a teenager. I'm still in high school, so I haven't got it. I haven't got it all figured out, but I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I want to do. I definitely know that I want to ultimately go to the airlines and become a pilot at a major airline, but I also want to stay involved in the general aviation community just because I love it so much, and the community is so strong, and it's always been strong growing up, seeing that. And so I definitely would like to go to the airlines. Yeah.
Catherine Turner, welcome.
Thank you.
You brought all these kids here. You're from which school? Hobson.
So we're still at Hobson Middle School.
Hobson Middle School. So these are all middle schoolers.
These are all middle school girls. So we have 135 6th through 8th grade girls ages 10 to 14. Wow.
So hats off, first of all, just to be able to herd 135 middle schoolers. Yeah, but they look like they're having a great time.
They are. This is a signature event for us. This is our 5th year partnering with Women in Aviation International and the Aero Club Foundation to come to Girls in Aviation and have this event. So it's just been wonderful. And every year it gets bigger. Every year it gets better.
So tell us about what you're an assistant principal there. Tell us about what you guys are doing, like things like this to encourage, the kids to get into aviation.
Sure. So DC Public Schools. Absolutely. So DC Public Schools' goal is for equity and really to expose our kids to amazing opportunities. And this has certainly been one of them. And so we do a lot of career preparedness work with our students as well. We do a lot of field trips and activities, and we have a robust extracurricular program. So all of those things keep us very busy with our girls, but it also gives them, and all of our students really, but especially this event gives our girls an opportunity to see careers they would have never known about. In many cases, the girls have never been to the airport, never been on an airplane. Yeah. So these opportunities are so significant because it expands their world in ways we can't even imagine.
Yeah. Ruth-Ann, did you have a question?
Yes, I was going to ask, what's the feedback has been like since you've been for 5 years now? Has like any girl came up to me and be like, Miss Caroline, thank you so much for bringing me. I actually want to become a flight attendant or a FBO supervisor now. Like, what's the feedback been like all over these years?
Sure. So every year, we have girls who either go year after year and come to this event, but we also have girls who have now gone, since we've done this for 5 years, we now have girls who have gone through and are now freshmen in college and things of that nature. So we are getting some feedback from the girls where they're reaching out and they're reminding me that they went to Girls in Aviation and they are now looking at being an airline mechanic or working in the industry. And it's just really, really fruitful.
That's a great job, Caroline. A very, very great job.
I will say, I really do admire you for exposing these girls in middle school. I really think that kids being exposed in middle school and that early is great because that's when they start choosing classes, and
Yep.
that's really when they start thinking about their future.
Absolutely.
And I admire that.
Thanks so much. Yes. Middle school is such a critical time in all children's lives because they're going through puberty, but they're also making decisions about what their career paths will be or what their futures are going to look like. And so having exposure for opportunities like this just really makes a huge difference.
You're being very impactful today. It's very, very impactful.
We're so grateful for the partners who sponsor, the sponsors who donate their time, their resources to share with our girls, Women in Aviation, the Aero Club Foundation, this group of women who have just taken us in as a school community and embraced us and are just, giving us the opportunities to continue to expose and embrace our girls.
Great job, Caroline.
Thanks so much.
Great job.
Yeah, well, this is great. When Yvette told me you were the one bringing the kids, I was like, oh, is this the Catherine Turner you've been telling me about that does so much with these kids and everything? She goes, yeah, that's her. I said, well, she has to come on the show.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to be on the show with you all today. And just invite everyone to learn more about Stuart Hobson and the Capitol Hill Cluster Schools and DC Public Schools, because we're doing some amazing work for our kids here in Washington, D.C.
Very true. And I think something that we've been talking about and you brought up too, and all of us, the thing that we want to let kids know, yeah, you can be a pilot or you can be a mechanic, but there are so many other opportunities in this industry, that a lot of kids aren't aware of. The main thing that I like to say is that whatever your skill set is, it's probably applicable in this industry. So
absolutely,
you may say, well, I like being an auto mechanic or I like working on cars. Yeah, well, you can also work on airplane engines,
Absolutely.
And
get paid a lot. And my daughter, who is very much what you would call a tomboy, when I was recruiting my own daughter to come to this event, she was very hesitant because she said, oh, this is a girl thing. And I said, well, it is a girls event, but they're going to be doing a lot of things that girls don't get to always do.
Right.
Expose yourself to things that.
Absolutely.
So I said, you're going to get to play with boys' toys at a girls' event and with a bunch of girls, and it's going to be amazing. And she walked past, and I said, are you having a good time? And she gave me a very quiet. So it's definitely yielding a lot of fruit, and especially for girls who see themselves not necessarily in the traditional feminine roles, but also who see themselves as hands-on and in these spaces can really, find their niche. And develop a career.
I definitely relate to that.
It doesn't have to be male dominant anymore. It can be equal now, finally.
Absolutely. I saw a post not long ago about a lot of female pilots. I think it was a lot of female pilots in the photo. And then there was another photo of a lot of Black and Hispanic and Latino and Asian pilots. And that was so encouraging as well.
Listen, I just was introduced to a young lady that is a welder. And she started her own welding business. She's like Mia. She's like in her late teens, early 20s. And she's literally has a welding business. And she specializes in aviation welding.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, that's definitely unique. But then again, there's a skill set that applies to the industry.
Absolutely.
So, anyhow,
Well,
wish you the best with everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I think
you.
duty calls.
All right. We're going to wrap things up. Thanks again.
All right. You take care. Wow. How about that? So she's busy. 135 kids. That's pretty impressive. So Mia, let me ask you, an event like this, I mean, for somebody that's created a foundation, an aviation foundation about mentoring and inspiring and educating, as you have, give me your perspective on this event.
Yes. So with my with Air Ambition, my nonprofit, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary this month.
Wow.
And I'm very excited for it. And I have hosted my very own Air Ambition Aviation Day for Girl Scouts to come out. It's not associated with women in aviation, but I really wanted to make sure that there were female pilots, female air traffic controllers. We had female mechanics and people from all backgrounds out there, just kind of teaching the girls all of the different techniques and skills that you need to have for each of these careers. And I admire Girls in Aviation Day. I think it is such an amazing event. This is my 3rd year being involved with Girls in Aviation Day. And I just see the look on people's faces. And I have told One time I was at the Women in Aviation International Girls in Aviation Day, and I told a little girl, I said, I went to one of these events when I was your age, and now I'm a pilot. And the look on her face was just insane, because she was like, this 17-year-old girl is a pilot. And so I've really seen the impact of Girls in Aviation Day, and I admire it.
Ivan, right?
Ivan, yes.
Okay. A Hart.
A Hart, just like
Ivan
it sounds.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm doing this live, so I'm just making sure I pronounce the name correct and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're with Airlines for America.
I am.
Corporate aviation. So you just said corporate aviation. So it's Airlines for America, right?
Yes. Airlines for America is the largest trade association in North America, I believe. And our member airlines are who we represent and support, but we do corporate aviation.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about because one of the things that you emphasize is DEI, diversity,
Yes,
equity, and
for
inclusion.
sure.
And you work on that for A4A.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man, I could talk for hours about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We got 10 minutes. all of our major member airlines, from United to Alaskan to Hawaiian, all have DE&I initiatives embedded within their corporate blueprint. But to compound on that, it's so important because we're seeing that the push for women in aviation, we're seeing the push for minorities in aviation, we're seeing the push for aviation to change from, kind of like a good old boys league into something that looks more like or represents more of the communities that we fly into. So A4A's position is to always support our member airlines like United, who just recently graduated their first Aviate Academy. 80% of all graduates were either women or minorities. We have Destination 225 at Southwest Airlines. I think Alaskan Airlines has just done a Girls in Aviation Day. American Airlines just recently flew 2 female pilots. Delta Airlines did an all African American flight deck and flight crew. I mean, everywhere you look, you see the push for our member airlines to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Alaskan Airlines, I think, was just hailed as the most diverse airline in the U.S. And so we're very proud of them, and we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish as far as diversity, equity, and inclusion are concerned.
My only question, because I did do some digging on you, if you don't mind, not a stalker.
She said she had a list of questions, but okay, go ahead.
Don't do that, Vince. Don't do that.
Fine.
So basically, my question is what way would you see it best to implement diversity and equity from a young age? Like events like Girls in Aviation. Besides that, how would you think it would be better impact girls at such a young age? Because diversity is something crucial. It brings about better etiquette in the industry, and then new ideas, new versatile stuff. So in your own words, what would you think be better rather than Girls in Aviation? What other opportunities could we also take in that?
I think that going into communities that are diverse to begin with, traveling outside of just the bubble, right? Get away from some of our major hubs and go into communities that are underserved is kind of where we start. So Girls in Aviation starts in middle school. And so getting some of these programs at the middle school level in areas or communities that we normally would not go in, that we normally would not see, are great. And then you push past that. You go into high schools, and then you go into colleges. You go to community colleges, which notoriously have a population of people who are underserved. You go into HBCUs, you go into PWIs, you go into a lot of these different institutions, and you introduce aviation in a way that allows people to see how vast it is. So I think it does start with situations like this, like Girls in Aviation Day. It starts with going to conferences. It starts with promoting and helping certain conferences. Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals has a conference every August, massive. Latin Pilots Association had their first conference this year. Supporting those type of organizations helps bring more people into the fold that are diverse.
And I will say that there are so many local airports around the country that communities have no idea about.
College Park.
Exactly. College Park
in Laurel for forever. I just learned that College Park is the oldest airport in the U.S. I never knew that.
Exactly.
That exposure alone, or having someone like you. I just came in when you said you were 17 years old and you were a pilot. Having girls see someone who's accomplished at such a young age is also a way that you get diversity in. It's a way that representation of seeing people from different backgrounds and seeing people who look like you. I mean, is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Look, Aviation Day, like it's amazing. It's really, really good to see everyone out here just kind of supporting. It's awesome.
And I will say those airports that communities don't know about, there are programs like Virginia Ambassadors Program. I know Maryland has one where it's a passport where you can go around your state and visit airports. You don't even have to fly into them. You can just drive to them and get a stamp in your passport. And that opens a world to meeting pilots, meeting rampers, meeting the airport manager. And that really opens up a new community for small airports.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
So what do you see for the future for these kids in terms of all the opportunities in this industry?
I see a much more diverse airline industry, aeronautics industry. I see a push for airline maintenance to be more diverse, to include more women. I see FAA pushing to do those things as well. I think the future of aviation, I'm a little biased here, but I think it's women. But
You're a little biased, no?
But I do think the future of aviation is a more diverse and inclusive industry. I also think it's going to magnify. I think we're going to get more people flying. I think we're going to get more people who want to actually be in aviation as well. I think once you get bit by the aviation bug, it doesn't go away.
Amen.
Yeah, see? And so I do think that we're going to grow we're going to grow as an industry for sure.
To your point though, people that have never even been in aviation, if they come and they work in the industry,
They don't want to leave.
they don't want to leave.
They don't want to leave.
Or
Me.
they leave for a hot minute and then they come back. You know, it's one, and I can take it all the way up to retirement. I have a lot of colleagues who've retired.
Yes.
It's like, I'm like, okay, well, have a good retired life.
Yeah.
6 months later, they're at another major aviation event. I said, I thought you were
retired.
No, because some of the pilots that we do have at Grandview too, they're retired.
Mhm.
But they're like, yeah, I'm still flying. How old are you again?
Yep. And see, I think I will be honest. I knew absolutely nothing about aviation until my first day on the job. I have a psychology background. I came from survey data and research. I did corporate training. I didn't do anything aviation based. I still did diversity, equity, and inclusion, but nothing aviation based. And the fact that a psychologist is in aviation shows you how vast aviation is and how many different careers are available across aviation. And I think that level of exposure is what's going to grow us as well. Just seeing that it's not that, pilots are important, air traffic control are important, flight attendants, but in corporate aviation, we do need HR, finance, business. Those type of majors have a home in aviation. Have a home in aviation for sure. Yeah. So I love promoting that as much as possible.
So to your point too, so I worked for the Aircraft Owner and Pilot Association before, and most recently the National Business Aviation Association. And in both cases, we hired people that were, from not just out of school or they weren't from the aviation community. And, they came and within months, they were like, okay, well, this is some great stuff here.
I'm saying.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about too, and you can join in on this with us while we wait for our next guest, which is getting ready to come up. But I wanted to talk about a little bit about the fact that I'm old and I lose my train of thought. For that to happen. No. The networking factor and how important it is for young people to realize that, and we talk about this a lot, when you have the opportunity, take advantage of it.
Yes.
It's funny. There was a guy, I was at the Oshkosh Air Venture, and there was a guy that brought some middle schoolers from some little city town or whatever in Wisconsin. And he was taking them around to expose them to aviation, just like these girls are getting exposed. These kids are getting exposed today. And they came into Airbus and they went straight for trying to find a place to sit down. Because, Oshkosh, it's hot. These kids were like, oh, air conditioning. Oh, I'm chilling. It's like, you're supposed to come in here and talk to one of these people that work for Airbus.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah. And there's the youth that comes out.
And there's that, right?
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I piggybacked on that with him to say, yeah, kids, you guys want to take advantage of opportunities, because the thing is, I try to tell them this all the time. Everybody, anybody in aviation loves to talk about aviation. Pilots and stuff. Just ask him one question and you'll be talking to him for the next
For 15 minutes about everything and nothing all at the same time, even if you're not a pilot. And I'm like, I don't fly. Oh, right. No offense, hon. No, but I do think networking is extremely important. It's how you learn about programs. It's how you learn about what's available in your city. It's how you learn about what you can actually go do.
And
is
you
to
don't
talk.
know that somebody that you meet at 15, 16, 17 years old may end up joining. You may end up coming across their path again.
Exactly.
And they may actually be able to help you with your gigs. So,
and tell you how they got to where they are, or maybe fly me later. I don't know.
Anyhow,
it was wonderful meeting you all. Thank you for the opportunity to come talk. I thoroughly appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you all next year at another Girls in Aviation Day.
For that.
Oh, yes. Right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Wow. So that's pretty cool. We have one of the major sponsors here, PSA. Hi. And you are
Megan.
Megan.
First officer, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So camera's here.
Okay.
We got two people?
Yeah, we do.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
Marcia. And you're a first officer and
I'm a flight attendant.
You're a flight attendant. Both from PSA?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Great. So I'll let the ladies do the interviewing for a minute. Ask your question. Go ahead. Show them what you got.
Okay. I would just like to ask, what got you both involved in aviation? Was it family, friends, just kind of fell into it? Because I know that happens a lot, is people just fall into aviation and end up loving it and continuing it. But how did you guys get involved?
For me, this is my second career, and how I chose it was I was going through a magazine one day and I saw a woman that was about my age, and she was talking about becoming a flight attendant later in life. And she looked so beautiful, so poised coming off the airline. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I did. Here I am.
My grandmother just retired at Southwest, and she was 82 and a flight attendant at Southwest. So I understand your story. She was the same way.
Well, funny enough, as a pilot, I get this all the time, especially a female pilot, because there's more of us now, but just not as much as there should be. So when I was in college, I sat there first week of school, and I went to the advisor's office, and I hated everything they had to offer. I went to the biggest state school that I got into, and I just hated everything. So I called my parents and I said, hey, I'm coming home. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing the school thing. And my parents said no.
How old when you did that?
Fresh 18. I was right out of high school.
Okay.
So 18 years old, I told them I'm coming home. They said no. You need an education. I said okay. And I've always wanted to travel the world. So thought about my options. I could have been a flight attendant, but I really wanted a degree, and I really wanted to do something technical because I just feel like, I had the capacity to do it. I've always had an interest. My grandfather was a pilot, P2 pilot in the Navy. And then he flew for Delta for 32 years. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm a little biased.
Oh, yeah, he was stationed in NAS Jackson, moved down to South Florida where I'm from. And he's always had these like model airplanes around the house, and I would always play with them, and I thought they were cool, but I didn't ever think it was for me. Mostly because my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and she was really into like that kind of lifestyle. So I didn't really know what was out there until I actually started going to conferences. Actually, at 16, my uncle took me to my first Women in Aviation conference, and I shadowed him as he tried to get a job with JetBlue. And he did actually get the job that day. So I watched him interview. And then I also was talking to all these women, and I saw like the potential that was out there. So long story short, right. So here I am today.
Here you are.
Yeah.
What has the journey been like so far as a pilot, a woman pilot in the industry? Like the journey that nobody wants to talk about, the behind the scenes. So let's be frank. There's some stuff that we see publicized as female pilot, the backlash, the minority. But for you personally, what is the stuff that you feel like should be talked about and impacted for women to know that, hey, if you're a female pilot, this is what you should expect, but at the same time, it's worth the effort. It's worth the consistency in pursuing it. What has it been like for you?
Well, the first thing I will say is that anybody is capable of doing it.
Right.
Male, female, whatever, wherever you're from, it doesn't matter. It's just the time and effort that you put into it. Now, there are some people that will say like, oh, you're probably too emotional for this job. I've heard that before. No, I'm not. Here I am. You should be doing other things like, oh, maybe you would be a good designer. You would, no, that's okay. I'll be here. And when you find the people that will work with you, and there are a lot of people out there, I mean, we hear all about the discrimination and the challenges that women face. Honestly, like I feel blessed in my journey because I didn't have a lot of adversity. Actually, I didn't realize that I was considered. This is going to sound so bad. I didn't know I was considered of color until I was in this industry because I'm from South Florida and it's just a very diverse environment out there. So everybody's supporting everybody, and I love that. So training in South Florida and Florida in general, it's just kind of like you get like, oh, you're a girl. How do you feel about that? Okay, I'm a girl and I fly. Like that's it.
Exactly. It's nothing big.
No, I mean, when at the airline level, people will question you. Like, oh, do you think you're gonna quit when you're older? Oh, probably not. No, I worked hard to be here.
Yeah.
And the people helped me along the way. They want to see me succeed, and I will. That's it.
That's good.
I will say something that my dad made sure of was that I got my first flight with a female pilot. My main glider instructor, she was a female pilot, and he knew that the industry was lacking females. Yeah. And so he saw that I had a passion for it and that he saw his passion in me and that we had the same passion for aviation. And he made sure that I had so many female mentors. And I like you said, I feel blessed that I have been surrounded by women. And so I understand.
So, I mean, the one phrase that I heard today is, especially us girls, like we can't be what we can't see.
Exactly.
And having those mentors around you, being able to tell you can do it, because there are the one or two people nowadays that will tell you can't. Yes, I will. And you know what? My instructor will tell me, my mentor will tell me, all these other females that are in aviation, they will tell you that I did it, you could do it too. And it's really important to see that.
So with what you both have accomplished, being involved and coming to an event like this, how does that, what do you think of all of this?
For me, I've been doing this. I've been doing this for about 3 years now, going to events like this.
Okay.
And I come away with the joy of planting a seed.
Yes.
To individuals of different, ethnicity, demographics. We wouldn't know, they wouldn't know if they didn't come.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have helped to plant that seed if I wasn't present. So that's what I get, out of it.
You?
Same thing. I mean, like today I heard multiple times today I heard, wow, this is my first time on an aircraft.
Yes.
That was chilling to me because, I remember my first time on an aircraft. I was blessed to have aviation in my family. But the very first time you walk on board and you're like, oh, this is cool. All right, you're just here for the service. And then someone tells you, oh, press this button, sit in the cockpit. It's like, oh,
and now you're controlling
you get that exposure.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we were offering today. Just the fact that like, hey, this opportunity is here for you if you want it. I think that's cool.
Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
Good cross.
Nice.
Good cross.
Thank you
All right.
so much.
So we're going to move right on to our next guest because things are wrapping up here pretty quickly. And as we do the live reset, here we go. So let me see if I get this right. Sanchia?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Beckno?
Yes. You did great.
I don't say so myself. So you are a regional vice president of operations for Signature.
Correct.
So it's kind of cool to be able to talk to you, not just because we're in Signature's hangar, all the that is convenient. We don't often hear that much about fixed base operators and what they do. And it's a major aspect of particularly of corporate flying.
Correct.
In terms of keeping things operating smoothly. All the ground handling and
fueling
and what you guys provide in terms of services and amenities.
Correct.
And things like that for both the pilots and the passengers.
Correct.
So I just did your interview.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities are and about an FBO like Signature.
So first and foremost, thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure being a part of this lovely event. As far as for Signature, my primary role is basically operations. So I'm fortunate to have one of these DCA as one of my locations. It's just really making sure that everyone is doing exactly what they need to do from an operational standpoint, taking care of our customers and primarily being safe, right? So we're excited to be a part of this. I was telling my counterpart that when I came up, within Signature, we didn't have a Women's Day or Girls in Aviation Day. So it's exciting for us to really work with the young ladies so that they can see that there's so many different aspects of the aviation industry, not just commercial, general aviation, but there's so many, being a caterer, being a mechanic if they wanted to. There's just so many, avenues for them as they're coming up.
Sure. Mia, as a young pilot, you're dealing with FBOs these days. So any questions or thoughts?
Now, I will ask, do you ever have the occasional strange interaction with student pilots? Because as a recent student pilot, I know that sometimes it can be very intimidating. And I actually did my first solo cross country at Charlottesville. Oh, fantastic. And Signature was there, and they were so welcoming. They were there to congratulate me and say they were proud of me. And so do you ever have, obviously this is a very large airport, but at other locations, is there any fun interactions with student pilots?
There are, and I will tell you, you can always tell who are the newer pilots because they're so nervous, right? And exactly what the team at Charlottesville do, that's what all locations will do, is just to ensure that we welcome and we're there. We're your biggest cheerleaders, right? We're your biggest cheerleaders. A big part for me, I love when we hire, whether it's a CSR or a line service tech that wants to aspire to be a pilot, because man, we are behind them the whole way.
Cheerleader.
Yes. So congratulations to you. No, you will be great. Just continue to support us, and we are always there as your biggest cheerleaders, as she say.
Yeah. And Ruth-Ann, you do the aviation service?
I do. We do have to call FBOs daily as a part of my job as a trip service specialist. So my question would be like, what's the journey leading up to your position right now?
Well, great question.
Today we've
that's a great question.
We've been introduced, and I've noticed different people from different backgrounds.
Right.
Customer service. We had Ms. Earhart from psychology.
Right.
What was your background initially that led you up to regional officer of Signature?
Right. Funny you asked that question. So I actually had no idea about general aviation. I really didn't. Growing up, you think about commercial, right? And my background is retail management. That's, what I went to school for. That's what I grew up in career-wise. And I met one of my peers at a business-to-business meeting, and we started talking, and he introduced me to Signature. And I said, hold on, I have to get into this industry because I've always loved the aviation, but I didn't want to be a pilot, right? So I started out as a customer service manager in Florida.
Preach.
And and believe it or not, I just worked my way up. It's funny because even as a customer service manager, there were long hours where I really wanted to learn about the operations, because it's one thing being inside, but it's a whole nother deal being on the outside. And I just started picking people's brain, and I started interacting with people in our corporate office, and just worked my way up.
Yeah, you bring up a really great point, though. You came from a completely different industry.
Yes.
Which is the thing that I like to emphasize, that it really doesn't matter what else
where you come from.
Where you're coming from.
No, not at all.
Aviation is aviation.
It is.
And there are just a lot of opportunities, and what we said earlier, it will draw you in and won't let you go.
It will. Our chief people officer, Amy Alexis, she's here today. And I mean, she came from the cruise industry, and when you start talking to what our head legal counsel, she's our lawyer, right? So we have a lot of great women that's within our organization that they weren't pilots. They didn't know about aviation. They just stumbled upon it. And here we are today.
Absolutely. What kind of advice would you give young ladies like these two ladies and some of the girls that are probably going to have an interest in aviation in their experience?
Then you stole my question. Then how was my next question?
I'll check in the mail.
Okay.
You know what? The sky's the limit. I know that's cliche to say, but honestly, whatever you want to do, just continue to work at it. You know, I'm not going to tell you the journey's not going to be hard sometimes,
Right.
but, you know, make sure you have a mentor within the aviation world. You know, reach out of the industry and just have a mentor, someone that's going to be there to
And
really
connect.
push you,
Mhm.
connect with, and someone that will, you know, because, you know, for me, I have a mentor. I've always had a mentor, even from my retail background,
Mhm.
and who I connect with to today. You know, there are times where I'll say, "Hey, you know, this is what I'm facing," but he's there to say, "No, you've got this," or "This is what you need to do." And you know, just sometimes you just need a sounding board. But no, the sky's the limit for both of you. Keep on
Thank
going, and for
you.
any of the ladies out there.
I will say something that I tell the kids and people that I mentor and speak to is you can't learn without failing, but you can't let your failure define you. And
Correct. I make a mistake every day.
same.
I mean, I'm only human.
I'll make several mistakes.
Right? Thank you so much for having me, and good luck to both of
Thank
you.
you.
Take care. Thank you.
That's pretty cool. So we're going to go right to, who do we have? Which stands for General Aviation Manufacturing Company,
Yes, sir.
which has to do with the manufacturing of aircraft, which is great. Megan?
I'm Megan.
Brian.
Yeah.
Saw you earlier in short minute. And that
Dante.
Dante? Jordy.
Jordine, yeah.
Okay, I got the last name right. Oh, good. We got some aviation action in the background. So tell us who you are and what you do with Gamma. And let's talk a little bit about what Gamma is all about.
Okay. Sure. So I'm the manager of meetings and member engagement.
Okay.
I joined Gamma about 1.5 years ago, and you know, member engagement, outreach, all of that is part of my job. You know, we're currently here today, obviously, trying to
Great that you guys
yeah.
are supporting this.
yeah.
Manufacturing is, you know, big deal.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're here today supporting this. You know, we want people to see that there's so many other opportunities in aviation than just being a pilot, right? So we're here today kind of showing that. We had little airplanes for the girls to build and manufacture and design. And so we were kind of trying to explain that to them. So that's part of my job is, you know, outreach and membership engagement. And then I also help plan a lot of our committee meetings. We have multiple committees at Gamma to, you know, help our members. So yeah.
How about you?
My name is Dante. I joined Gamma about 2 months ago. I just graduated school.
Right. Yeah.
What was your major?
Yeah.
I studied aviation science and management.
Okay, where?
I'm at Middle Georgia State University. Yeah, it's a really small college in the middle of Georgia.
Yeah.
Nobody knows it.
It doesn't matter. The degree
It's an
speaks for
aviation.
itself.
It's an aviation.
Yes.
Great.
So I joined Gamma 2 months ago, and I'm now their airworthiness and regulatory specialist. So I deal with
Regulatory.
yes.
Yeah, you. Tell us what that is.
Well,
Audience.
so my job makes let's start over. Rewind, back up. See, there you go. Boop, boop, back it up. So my job mainly consists of dealing with the, as I said, regulations. Whenever the FAA puts out something new, anything open for comment, anything that they're trying to implement into the aviation industry, it kind of goes through me. Well, not just me, but our team at Gamma, and we try to just like communicate with our members, try to give like somewhat of an industry consensus or industry feedback to the FAA or EASA, whoever puts out the regulation. And
You just threw out an aviation acronym. What's it mean?
EASA. Oh.
You're like, help me out.
Oh, sorry.
Put me on the spot.
So you know how America has the FAA, Europe has
EASA.
EASA.
Okay. So it's International Standards Aircraft Operations?
No, European.
European.
Yeah.
EASA.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Just
maintenance.
helping our audience out. Because it would have flown right over them, probably 30
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But that's the basics. Like
Yeah.
the basics of
So,
what I do.
I'm gonna put you on the spot again.
Oh,
I want to
Jesus,
know,
mercy.
how did you, how did everybody doesn't go into regulatory stuff. That's not That's not a everyday
job.
thing. It's
Yeah.
not common. So how did you end up being interested in it? You said you studied aviation science and
And management, yes.
and management. So you get this opportunity. Where did the regulatory come in? I'm asking out of curiosity.
Okay.
For the
Well,
audience too.
well, okay, we're gonna go all the way back in the day, you know. not that far back in the day, but
I mean, no,
I realized in
I was
school.
born in your
No,
okay.
I was born. You was born. Here I am. Anyway, so I realized throughout my school career that this is something I do well at. Management is something I do well at. I'm a very good writer. I can comprehend. I can read. Well, hopefully everybody else can too. But it's just something that really just piques my interest.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed doing that, and I realized that maybe not talking all the time is my strong point, but speaking on behalf of others,
Advocating.
is a strong point of mine. So that's how I really got into that.
Cool. I just, I'm not really picking on you. I want our audience to hear these things because, people have interest and we've been saying it the whole show. They don't realize that they can do it in our industry.
Yeah.
And it can be whatever it is. Megan, how about you? What's your background in terms of getting involved in aviation?
Yeah, so I actually had no experience in aviation. I was in the association world and I joined Gamma and it's just been so interesting. I absolutely love it. It's so exciting. Stuff is changing daily. We try to help our members as much as we can and we're so involved in a lot of things, but it's so interesting. Last year, my boss, Pete Bunce, took us we went out to Yakima to Cub Crafters and he took me flying and it was just eye-opening, such a cool experience, amazing. And I tell everyone that and I'm it's really opened my eyes to kind of what general aviation can do and everything that goes on with it. So, yeah.
Well, I know Pete Bunce very well, and I know that Gamma is a great association for our industry. I know manufacturers love what Gamma represents and does because it advocates on their behalf. And we're in kind of a growth spurt in this industry, and so there's newly designed aircraft coming out, and it's a really good time. And there are a ton of manufacturing jobs. As a matter of fact, every time I talk to any of the manufacturers, they're always talking about how they're looking for more people on all levels.
Right.
They need people in the factory, they need test pilots, they need
even people in the office. There's just so many opportunities.
I got to go with my plane. I'm pulling my plane up. Ladies, really nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where are you from?
Jamaica.
You see, I'm talking up here.
There is the connection. Jamaica.
We're here. Guys, you can come from anywhere. Twanging. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We're going to go right to Lisa Sullivan.
I'll make the pink shoes. Oh, thank you.
Lisa Sullivan, welcome to All Things Aviation.
Awesome.
Great to have you. So I understand that you are Vice President of Transportation Services.
I am, yeah.
For Adima.
That's correct.
Yeah. So,
I'm so happy to be here with you today. This is such a great event.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about what you do, what your company does.
Absolutely. So Idemia is a identity and biometrics company. So specifically, we really focus on essentially doing three things. We issue identities. We enroll people for identities, we issue those identities, and then we verify them. And so in the travel space, our biggest use case that we work with is actually with the Transportation Security Administration. So we actually work with them with the technology at airports to essentially help keep it secure, but also think about the passenger experience to make sure that as the passengers are flowing through that, they have the best experience possible. So there's a lot of work to do to essentially make sure the technology we're rolling out is constantly kind of thinking about the intersection, not just of the technology, but the people and the policy, so that all of the consumers that are traveling through our great nation's airspace and through our airport system are being able to do so seamlessly. Lisa, if I may ask, you said you guys are implementing some of these TSA operations in the airport. Is it the new ones you guys have, like currently the one at BWI? Is that somewhat similar to what you're doing?
Yeah, so we have these new systems. They're called the Credential Authentication Technology.
Right.
So they're actually called CAT.
Okay.
And the new ones that are coming out are really cool because they're going to be able to accept a digital ID. So the state of Maryland actually has a digital ID. Do you have one?
Yes.
Yes. So you can use that at the checkpoint and have a much more seamless experience. So you don't have to fumble now for your boarding pass, your ID. It's much more, at your fingertips with your phone. And that's going to kind of start to expand, especially if you enroll in programs like the pre-check program or some of the trusted traveler programs. You'll actually be able to use that digital credential when you're dropping off your bag, when you're going through the checkpoint, when you're getting on the plane. So for the consumer, it's seamless. You just show up at the airport, have that less stress experience and so forth.
The whole TSA line.
Totally. Avoid the line, really just kind of have a better experience as a consumer, and also make sure that from a fraud detection, everything else, TSA is keeping our airports and our nation safe.
Right. Because I was just about to add, I'm sorry. I was just about to add, how do you also ensure that the technology that you're creating is seamless, but also tight down on security?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do, because we're a technology company and because of the great work that TSA, DHS, and others have done, we build all of our technology to interoperable standards. So by building it to data standards, by having TSA really say, this is what a digital credential is going to be, having these standards set up with that, it makes sure that all of us in the industry that are building these things, they all work together. Because for a consumer, you don't want to have 50 different apps to go through a checkpoint based on what airport you're at. You want that seamless experience. And so by setting these standards, we're actually able to really make sure that the experience is very seamless for all.
Okay.
What's the timeline, do you think, that this will start to be implemented a lot more and more often?
Great question. So right now we have a few hundred of these new systems out in places like Maryland and others
too, yes.
because they have those digital credentials. So there's 7 states right now that have digital credentials already issued. I think there's 13 states that are about to come online. So that's 20 out of 50. It's pretty good. So once consumers start adopting those, we're actually on the hardware side at the checkpoints with TSA going to be rolling out over the next 12 to 18 months nationwide. So we're rolling out over 1,400 across the nation's airports to add to the ones already. So you'll have it at tons of the airports to match when consumers are starting to get these digital IDs and credentials as well. So a lot over the next 12 to 18 months.
So let's wrap it up by telling us a little bit about your background. How did you get into it?
Oh my gosh. I fell in love with the aviation industry, I think at a young age. I loved to travel and so forth. And out of college, I wasn't exactly sure what to do. I knew I loved solving hard problems. I knew I loved working on mission that mattered. And so I was naturally drawn to government service and the aerospace industry, and just had a great opportunity to start working on, meaningful problems in this space. I first started working with the FAA, then traversed into some more of these security use cases, and have just had a blast over the last 20 years. There's so many careers that young women can join, and we need more women in this industry to join. It was so great and energetic to see all the 6th and 8th graders today, and hopefully
we're here.
Exactly. Hopefully they can see all the different career paths they can take, whether it's being a pilot, being an engineer, doing programmatics. There's so many different options for them.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, and thank you for everything you all are doing to host this wonderful event.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Come on in, John Stanley, right?
That's right.
So John Stanley is with L3 Harris Technologies. Like we had Moranda on earlier at the very early part. They wanted to sandwich the show. So and John's like, yeah, and I'm wrapping it up because I've been behind the scenes helping you out. So no, John, it's been a pleasure having you involved. And yes, we have a cool helicopter.
We like aviation when we hear noise, and
We all just turn around. I hear a rotor. And
I know. Just like now, this is real.
there it is. There it is.
We're here doing it. There you go. We turn around.
I've been flying airplanes for 25 years. I turn around every
time.
Now,
Exactly.
my friends make a joke out of it at this point. I'm like,
they're always going to. Always.
Ladies, I'll let you do the.
So what are some of the things that you do with L3 Harris to ensure safety of pilots and the aviation industry as a whole?
Sure. So L3 Harris, we have a really unique position because in the United States, we actually help the FAA manage their entire infrastructure of the National Airspace System. So tracking aircraft, the voice communications, really actually all the data that ties air traffic control together, all the control facilities, the navigational aids, the lighting systems, just really anything that makes airports work and has airplanes navigate safely. L3Harris is actually behind the scenes of all that, moving the data, moving voice, moving aircraft tracking data, and actually doing controller pilot data link communications, which is really the future, where we're replacing some voice communications with digital messaging on the flight deck. So really in all aspects, there's some L3Harris technology sitting behind there. And we've been in that mission for 45, 50 years at this point. So we also know the National Airspace System very well. We run that 24/7, 365 along with the FAA.
I was able to take a little tour of L3Harris, and it was amazing. I know that there are some tracking abilities of L3Harris to ensure that pilots are staying safe if anything were to happen. Is there any insight to that you can kind of explain?
Yeah, of course. So the principal technology is something called automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, and it replaces conventional radar. Radars that have been around for almost 100 years at this point. They send out energy that reflects off airplanes, and air traffic controllers are able to see where airplanes are. This is actually the next generation of technology where we use GPS. And so the airplane actually creates all the information about who it is, where they are, what they're doing, and they send it down to our ground station, and we process that data. We combine it with other sources of surveillance. We send that to air traffic controllers. So you're getting a much more precise position of the airplane. You're getting a faster rate at which air traffic controllers get updates on the position and more information about what that airplane is and what it's doing. But more importantly, the airplanes can communicate with each other, and they can send their position to each other. So now you have awareness, the pilots have awareness of where other airplanes are. You've flown with it, right? And it's a game changer when you're able to see essentially a very similar picture what air traffic control has seen. But as a pilot, you see that, where there might be an unsafe situation. And we've had countless saves there.
Yes, and
he just brilliantly described that, right? And he said air traffic control probably 15 times. So I'm guessing he was an air traffic controller. Am I right?
I went to school being an air traffic controller. I'm a pilot. I went to school being an air traffic controller. I worked at the FAA for 8 years, helping to design the new systems that have gone into the airspace system.
Oh, no wonder you spoke so eloquently about it. I missed that part.
And in media training for the first 2 years. So more importantly, though, is that L3Harris, we're an inclusive workforce. We have men and women of various ages that are out in the field every day supporting this mission. We have women who are field technicians who are climbing towers and bolting antennas up onto rooftops and the towers that help move that data into the airspace system, right? Program managers, finance professionals. And we also are really well at doing inclusion and equity at our leadership levels. So as a matter of fact, our president of our division, which is almost $1 billion a year, is a woman and has a very strong leadership team of women. So there's career paths there as well, that it's not just about, boots on the ground, but also into the leaderships of a very large company. You ask about how we're keeping pilots safe. So we do that on the civil aviation side, but we are a defense contractor. So we're also keeping North America safe from threats. And we do that with a number of technologies and tracking, surveillance, and defense. And there are women at all ranks of the company that are doing that. So we're keeping our pilots safe. We're keeping our airspace system safe, but we're keeping our country safe as well.
I know that L3Harris also has some diversity workshops there and about in different communities. I know that you guys have that on your page. How has that been impactful in the different cities that you guys go to?
I mean, hugely, right? So first off, we really modified our work conditions during COVID, right? And as part of that, we actually were increasing our employee resource
and
groups.
internship too.
And our internships as well, right? So we have a number of employee resource groups, including We3, which is women engineering. And I will say that what we've done has been able to create a culture where we're increasing the viewpoints of all. I think there's been a lot of positive impacts in the corporate benefits, the corporate ladder, corporate leadership pipeline for people of all backgrounds. And I think part of that is because we have employees get together at the employee level and we talk about what's working and what's not. And leadership is very receptive to the comments and the suggestions of employees. Inside our own division, we actually have an employee engagement council that is creating new opportunities, either for our interns or our new college grads, what they want to see the workforce of the future look like.
And from your own personal viewpoint, to take a stand back, how have you seen diversity, inclusion, L3 Harris, the internships, the workforce, how have you seen that evolve from when you first started ATC, FAA journey, now you're at L3 Harris? Standing back, how have you seen that evolution?
Well, and let me actually take it back one step further. When I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, which has historically been a pretty unbalanced student population. Even in my 3 years there, I saw a dramatic change. I saw the number of people of color, women entering the student pipeline increased exponentially. And as we see corporations that are providing an inclusive workforce culture, I mean, it's fantastic because I think you feel more empowered to provide a voice in that people have had ideas for years. There's been how many ideas that have unfortunately gone on the shelf under the rug because they didn't feel empowered to contribute. And we're definitely not that. I'd say L3 Harris is one of the most open and inclusive places I've ever worked, where from our leadership on down, we are encouraged to communicate and open.
Positive note to end on. We're going to have to wrap the show up. But I appreciate all of your wisdom and information about what you guys do and are. And I also want to thank you for helping behind the scenes to pull all the guests together and everything. You're very instrumental in helping things go smoothly. So
my side hustle as a producer.
You can side hustle as a producer anytime with me.
Excellent.
So, but thank you very much.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. It's been
John.
fantastic.
So that's going to wrap things up. As you can see, the hangar has cleared out except for airplanes, and you've seen that helicopters go behind us and all of that great stuff. But it's really been a really great experience today. You guys have been incredible. I mean, you probably could have just done the show without me. You didn't really need me. But I would like to thank both of you for taking the time to be here and really offering some great participation at Girls in Aviation.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining All Things in Aviation and Aerospace, this special edition right here in the hangar of Signature Flight Support at Reagan National Airport here in Washington, D.C. All Things Aviation and Aerospace is a video podcast and webcast, or video webcast and audio podcast, however you want to do it. Everybody mixes them up these days, myself included. Until next week, please take care, stay safe flying if you're a pilot like me and Mia, and wishing you all the best. Have a great one, everybody. Take care.